It is so great to be back with y'all after being away for 2 Sundays on a silent retreat. So I need to warn y'all, I've got a lot to say. This extrovert was not made for silent retreats. Now, as I walked down Main Street, my head whipped back and forth, right and left, and then back again as I tried to take in every detail. The sights, the sounds, and even the smells bombarded my senses nearly to the brink of overload. The scent of freshly popped popcorn and the sound of a barbershop quartet singing. What about the bakery? The bakery filled with treats beckoned me to stop, but only to be distracted by a man carrying what seemed like thousands of balloons. But then all of that began to fade into the background of my periphery as I looked up ahead. There it was, Cinderella's castle. Walt Disney World, Chris Duncan had arrived. One of the truly incredible things that I've come to appreciate about Disney theme parks is that they don't just stop at eye level. In other words, the magic is in the details. And I get it, Disney's not for everyone. But something, if you do go, that you will notice is that for instance, when you walk through Cinderella's castle, stopping to examine the tiled mosaics depicting the tale of Cinderella, well, you'll discover that the gold tiles are actually 24-karat gold pieces. Don't try to take them out, you will get arrested. And as you pass through the castle, you come to the Prince Charming Regal Carousel. And though it is by far the oldest attraction in age located in Disney World, there in Fantasyland, the paint looks fresh. That's because it is. You see, each and every night, Disney employees inspect the carousel, each and every horse, and they touch up any chipped or scuffed paint, as they do actually with everything throughout the park. Yes, the magic is in the details. For instance, many of you may know, but in case you didn't, you can find throughout the park hidden Mickey Mouse symbols that can be found in the least likely of places. For instance, on the Haunted Mansion ride, in the dining room, at the end of the table, you'll see a large dinner plate and then 2 salad plates arranged just right to reveal that trademark Mickey outline. No, I'm not being paid this morning to give a commercial for Disney, but stepping into that world can be truly magical, an escape from the real world. Jesus said, "Sanctify them in truth. Your word is truth. As you have sent me into the world, so I have sent them into the world." For several weeks now, we have been given a set of last-minute instructions from Jesus that brings us back to before Good Friday. These instructions are commonly called the farewell discourse, and they show us that Jesus was not one for a quick goodbye, as they span 4 chapters in John's gospel. It's the longest single section in this gospel. Many people hate saying goodbye, but knowing the chaos that the disciples will soon face, Jesus uses this time to give comfort and direction. And so today's gospel is that final prayer for his disciples. It is the conclusion to this entire long farewell that he gives. And what we find in Jesus' prayer is extravagance. Extravagance in giving, extravagance in belonging, and extravagance in commissioning. Over and over, Jesus uses the language of giving. In fact, if my count was correct, he uses some form of the word give 9 times in just these few verses. And this idea of giving helps to characterize the theology of this text. You see, both the Father and the Son are givers, and their mutual giving constitutes the grace which leads to life. And so one of the things being given is a sense of belonging. And actually more than just a sense of belonging, true belonging. Through Jesus' prayer, the disciples are told that belonging to Christ is integral to the Father's and the Son's essential nature and purpose. This sense of belonging is then modeled after the relationship of the Father and of the Son. Here we find that the Father and the Son are doing a metaphorical dance that is perfectly in sync with one another. And Jesus' words, therefore, are an invitation into this dance, an invitation to be in sync with God and united one to another as the Father and the Son are one. And next comes our commissioning. You see, the disciples belong to the Father and are then also given back to the world. They have been set apart as holy, but not removed from the world, although the world may hate them. The tension here is this: the world contains so much pain, so much rejection, and self-interest. Yet it is at the same time the object of the Father's love, and at the center of God's ongoing mission of reconciliation, a mission in which we are called to carry forward. Now, rewinding back in time to my trip to Disney's Magic Kingdom, I found an escape in that time and in that place from the world. While in Frontierland, I went on the wildest train ride in the wilderness. In Adventureland, I became a pirate and survived a high seas expedition. As Dumbo took me soaring through the air, I caught a glimpse of all of Fantasyland. And in Tomorrowland, well, I joined Buzz Lightyear, and together we defeated the evil Emperor Zorg. I got my picture with Captain Hook, Aladdin, Eeyore, Donald Duck, and of course, the one and only Mickey Mouse. And in that evening, we returned to Main Street, and I sat on the curb and happily ate a way overpriced hot dog, eagerly anticipating the parade. In both the book and the movie of Peter Pan, we are told that it only takes one happy thought to fly. And sitting there waiting for the parade, full of happy thoughts from the day, I thought I could have launched into the stratosphere. Now, I don't know whether to be proud or embarrassed, but this magical moment I am describing does not come from early childhood, nor from when I have taken my children to Disney, but rather it was when I was 22 years old. No matter, though, one's age. You see, escaping from the real world, even if for a moment, can be great. But at the same time, we can't stay in that place and in that time forever. My experience was real but temporal, and there was a real world calling for my return. There is something truly tempting about just retreating from the world altogether. When stress is piling up and our to-do list is ever growing, the call grows ever louder, whether it's to the Magic Kingdom or the beach, or to the mountains or to a camp, or to whatever your getaway might be. Getting away from it all is what makes vacations so great, And there is nothing wrong with rest and relaxation. In fact, we have a theological term for this concept of rest, especially resting in God. It's called Sabbath. And Jesus himself took retreats and honored the Sabbath. But some of the magic begins to be lost when you try to just stay in that place indefinitely. When you try to stay in the park, so to speak, after everyone else goes home. You see, after the parade has ended and the last firework has fizzled and all the people have poured out of the park, reality sets in for even the most magical place. You see, the garbage has to be taken out. Gardens must be weeded or replanted, and streets need to be swept and the paint touched up. And at the same time, and yet on the opposite end of this spectrum that I've been illustrating, there is also the temptation to become solely in and of the world. Not just to retreat from it, but to be defined by it. To be defined by our to-do lists, our successes and our failures. To be defined by our social status. And so please hear me on this point. Because this temptation to be defined by the world is equally, if not more enticing, and yet equally as rocky. You see, as an Easter people, we are called into God's giving, God's belonging, God's commissioning. These three are our path through this world, not to retreat from it, nor to be defined by it. We are called, set apart, and sent into the world to transform the world for the kingdom of heaven. Through giving, belonging, and commissioning, the world will change. And we are a part of that plan. You are a part of that plan. Despite any cynical inclination I might have, I say with confidence, I say with hope and faith, we, the church, can change the world. Christ did not run away from the world, nor did he conform to it. Christ engaged the world and works still with us to transform it, to reconcile it. And so every Sunday we are reminded of Christ's gift of giving and belonging through the word and through the sacrament. And then at the end of the service, we are further reminded of our commissioning, our response to God's grace, with the words of the dismissal that we affirm by saying thanks be to God. And so may we always go forth into the world in the name of Christ. Thanks be to God.